What is going on, guys? You are listening to WSOU. I am Nick, and I actually am here with a special guest. I am here with Chris Motionless of Motionless in White. What is going on?
Cold, rainy, miserable. What other depressing things can I say about the weather today?
And you got a little lost.
Yes.
On top of that,
we had some trouble getting here. We ended up at the top, but looked like it happened in place. But in the studio there.
So you guys are kicking off the tour. You said tonight with him in the city. Tell us a little bit about your expectations about this tour.
It's funny. Well, it's funny you should ask. We actually have no idea what to expect. Him's not exactly a heavy band by any stretch. I feel like because of their look and their sound, a lot of different types of fans like them. Like, metal fans love him. Radio fans love him. Like, they're a great band to have a wide fan base.
Right.
So for us, I think a couple groups of those fans should be into it, but I'm not sure as a whole.
Right.
When we were ordering our merch order for this tour, just like, what do we bring? Like, do we bring 10 shirts or 2,000? Like, I don't know. So today's going to be it's either going to be a very rude awakening or a very awesome experience. Regardless, I'm not even there to play. I'm there to see him.
You get to do it every night too.
Yes.
So do you like that factor where you don't know how it's going to go? Is that kind of a cool feeling, or do you like knowing it's going to go well? Or
it's like an unnerving feeling to just go into it blind. Like when we toured with A Day to Remember and Bring Me a couple months ago, and even though they're heavier bands, we're still unsure about that tour because we're just like, well, A Day to Remember is poppier. I don't know about Bring Me fans and us. I don't know, you know? I expected it to be okay, and it ended up being around about how we expected it to be, where there's a lot of people just kind of standing there observing, like, what am I watching right now? Just super confused, and then there was a lot of people that were just into it. So I think it's probably going to be like that. It'll be half and half. But yeah, I do enjoy not knowing because it adds like a new atmosphere to going into the show, you know?
Right.
You're not going into it with your confidence level high and just be like, I don't have to try. This is gonna be fine no matter what. You know, like now you go out there and you're just like, all right, well, here we go. Time to try some new stuff.
Do you plan the set list around that? What you're gonna play on who you're?
Oh yeah.
So what would you do more for, like, what are we looking at for this tour?
Well, I mean, we don't want to go out there and throw blast beats and insane double bass songs at these bands just because I've been to shows before where I've seen mixed type of bands and I like it, but I also don't at the same time.
Right.
So we're gonna play more like the rock based stuff, like songs like America or Unstoppable and stuff like that. But then then we're gonna throw the quote-unquote classic songs like Reincarnator, Devil's Night, where they have the more overall sound of the band.
Right.
So we definitely are toning it down to not have everyone hate us. But it's actually, I love it, though, because we're getting to play songs that we don't really ever get to play.
Right.
Like we're always on heavy tours, so we're always doing Puppets 3 or Devil's Night and all that stuff and never really get to explore the more mellow side in a whole tour, so it's pretty exciting. How
do you feel, because I've noticed especially this year that the mixed bill thing has really come out, like with you guys, Yellow Card and Memphis Mayfire, stuff like that. Do you think it's a good thing, or? I
think so. I mean, it's good in multiple ways in my perception, because it's a good way to introduce these fans to either music they may have never heard before.
Right.
Like Yellow Card fans I don't know, but my guess is probably don't know Memphis Mayfire or haven't really broken into that world of heavy bands. So it's kind of like a great gateway band for those fans. So I appreciate that a lot.
Right.
For the Him and Motionless tour, I'm sure most of those fans are familiar with metal. Whether they like it or not, I don't know. But hopefully we act as a good band to kind of help introduce them into a little bit heavier something, I enjoy it. Yes, I see only good.
Because I've seen mixed things from it. Like, I see people come just for one and then leave, or, you know, just kind of like hanging, not necessarily into it, or just even smaller crowds in general, because it's like, oh, I would only go for them, so it's not even worth going to.
It's very annoying when you see the fans who do go for the support band and leave before the headliner. Right. That's so annoying, because it's like you paid the money to go. Why would you not stay anyway? You know, like why are you paying the money for one band and then you complain that the tickets are too much money?
Right.
Well, there's other bands you could be seeing, you know, not just that one band and the two bands leading up to them. So, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I mostly see the good in it.
Right.
Maybe that's wrong of me.
Now, after this tour, you guys just announced that you're going to do a headliner with For Today.
Yes.
And I've seen some things, especially from For Today's camp, about some of the reaction their fans are getting and stuff because of you're touring with them.
Yes.
And I mean, you guys, I remember you guys toured a while ago, right?
Yes, we did. They brought us out.
So it's not new or anything.
No.
So why do you think all of a sudden is it just maybe because you guys are both bigger bands and more people know who you are now?
I mean, they brought us out years ago, and you know, we were kind of young and stupid and wanted to make a statement, so we kind of went out there and played up the different beliefs card a little bit, and it wasn't like an intentional insult by any stretch at all, and they, you know, it was more like a respect. Like, I said really nice things about their band. I just praised them in the middle of our set, and their fans seemed to be like really shocked by that, rather than me standing up there preaching against them. So that was like the starting point of the respect level between our band and their band. And then we toured on Warped Tour 2 different times together.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then when it came time to pick the bands for this tour, we were just like, For Today. Like, we don't look at them at like the same way that the fans look at both of our bands. Like, they're just friends to us. Like, they're just normal dudes who we get along with great, and they're friends, and we like playing music and touring together. That's literally all it comes down to.
Right.
But the fans, who I guess need something to complain about, much like everybody else in the world, just wanted to, you know, I guess I haven't seen too much of their fans saying anything, but I did think it was funny that the For Today fans are the ones that have a problem with this.
Right.
Our fans are totally cool with it.
Right.
Tell me how that makes sense. You know? Like, our fans are more welcome to them and their beliefs than their fans are to us.
Right.
That's so bizarre to me. But I've seen Maddie say something about, you know, like, hey, if you don't support it, then don't even bother coming to our shows. Like, it's not like that.
Right.
And I thought that was amazing. Like, I have so much respect for that dude. And it's like I said, it's more of a way for us to just tour with our friends. It's not about like, oh, we need a Christian band on the tour, we need this band. It's like, we just want to bring out our friends.
Right.
So hopefully fans will get over it, and I think once the dust settles, or maybe our band says something about it as well, then they'll be like, I understand. So hopefully.
Now, it's called Beyond the Barricade. Does that have any sort of meaning?
Yes.
What do you got for that one?
We actually did, when we did that Day to Remember tour I mentioned earlier.
Right. Before
that, we were on Warped Tour. Warped Tour's not exactly intimate, but it's still like a cool show. Like, the fans are there to see you, so it's pretty. The feeling is there. The Day to Remember tour, the barriers were like so far away from the stage. I just felt so disconnected from the crowd. I hated it, because like I thrive off of the right in your face. Spit at you're basically spitting on each other kind of stuff. And when we were talking about doing a headliner, I was just like, okay, I don't care where we're at as a band, we're only playing places that don't have a barricade. I was like, I refuse to play in anywhere that won't let us get in the faces of people.
Right.
That was a stupid comment to think, because of course everywhere, due to insurance purposes, won't pull the barricade. But we made sure every venue that we could remove it. That's kind of where we went. Like, we're playing probably half the venues that don't have barricades at all. Okay. We put the word out to try to get the other ones to pull it and just let the crowd come up to the stage. But unfortunately, it's not something that you can do, because the venue needs it for their own insurances and all that kind of stuff. But
how do you feel about, because lately there's been a lot with, especially like barricade issues with people getting hurt, and now the whole thing with people like getting up on stage and taking selfies and stuff like that. What do you think about that stuff?
I feel like no matter what, someone's going to get hurt. I've seen people eat it going with a barrier and without a barrier. I personally don't like them if it's for a reason other than just the distance between me and the crowd. I don't like them because half the time we're at venues, the security doesn't even care about the kids that are crowd surfing, and they just let them fall.
Right.
And you just like stop singing, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you? So that's confusing. I'm not a big fan of that, but I've seen people crowd surfing to get on the stage, and someone gets their head smashed into the stage, and it's like you can't win no matter what. So you're just gonna hope that everything will be okay. And I'd rather the no barricade. But the selfies thing and all that stuff. It's happened to us a few times.
Right.
I think it's funny. It's just kids want to go to a show to have fun and let go. Whether the selfie thing is more treated like a trophy or not, I don't care. As long as they left the show having fun and got their money's worth, and that's cool with me.
Because like lately, it's a lot of bands like lashing out, and I've seen like bands like actually attack people on stage.
Really?
Yeah, like NoFX, Fat Mike like drop kicked.
I didn't hear about that.
And actually, the other day, Every Time I Die, it happened. I forget who it was. I think it was one of the guitar players. Like kicked the phone out of the kid's hand while he was playing. Like they just don't want to have it at all.
Wow. It's funny that you say that, because in our whole band and crew has a group text on my phone, and the last group text is the link to read about that Every Time I Die.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I completely get why any band wouldn't want that. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Because it's annoying. Like, why are you going to come to a live show, and spend the entire time looking at it through the screen of your phone?
Right.
I hate that.
Yeah.
If you want a photo or a quick video, totally cool.
Right.
I've taken photos and small videos at shows since I've had a phone to go. You know?
Yeah.
But some bands just don't like it, and I get that, respect that too. I have nothing bad to say about it. I think maybe you probably shouldn't kick people off the stage, but especially since the whole Randy Blythe from Lamb of God incident with kicking somebody off stage. But I get it. So they have. I guess I'm more of a neutral party in that aspect. But if someone does it at our shows, that's fine. I'll pose for it.
So we were talking earlier about the new album, and you talked a little bit about how you wanted to change it up a little bit with where you were going. Mm-hmm. What exactly was the process of writing this one as opposed to the past ones?
I mean, this one was treated more as like a make or break in like an end all be all scenario. Like when we did Creatures, it was our introductory record. Right. It was our first record. We knew that hopefully, we didn't know it was going to go all right, but we figured, okay, it's the first record, we'll at least get a chance at the second one. So we put out our second record. We made the decision that we were going to use that as more of like a transition record into what Reincarnate became. So because we made that big move and upset a lot of fans, we knew that this record had to be like if it was not as good as it could possibly have been, then there might not be a future for a band much longer.
Right.
So that was a lot of pressure and a lot of weight. Like we took into consideration how many people were not pleased with our last record, and I get that. I completely call it a transition record where there's good songs, but it's finding itself to get somewhere further, which, like I said, became Reincarnate. So, I mean, this round we just took a lot more preparation into making sure that everything going into the writing and recording was a correction of all past mistakes. It was in a way where we had more time, so there was less pressure and less stress in the time aspect, which is something that helps me greatly.
Right.
It's like we basically just took every mistake that we've made, and then the experience and maturity that we've grown into, and combined them, and I feel made a good record that I really like. I mean, when I listen to it, I'm proud of it. The other two, I just pick apart. You know, maybe I'll pick this one apart a year from now, but when I listen to this one, I'm just like, yes, I like this. The other two, I'm just, I wish I did this, or I wish I didn't do that, you know.
Now, with this record, you did a lot of work. I know you did a lot of work on the last one, too, with him, but you did a lot of work with Tim Skold.
Correct.
So, what exactly what does he kind of have on the album? Like, what kind of input does he have?
Tim, it's funny because he's more of an outside of music influence on me more than he is even in music. Like, Tim's the most interesting person I've ever met. He's a genius. Like, he's literally the most unique person I've ever met.
Right.
He just kind of taught me a lot of things about stuff that I didn't know in the music industry. He's really, like, mentored me and guided me to really have a better understanding of so many different things, and that has made me a better musician, a better person, and everything because of him. So, you know, I credit a lot of the success of what we've had or what I've had personally to him. And as far as music goes, the reason why the songs I do with him end up being my favorite songs are because when we're writing, it's not exactly like we're treating it like writing a song. Well, earlier when we started working with each other, it was like we were just like, we got to make this song. We only have, you know, a month to write all these songs, and it was stressful, and it was more of that approach. But recently, it's more of like two friends getting together to, you know, quote unquote, create an art project or something. Right. You know, it's not like, hey, we have to write this song and it has to be just like this and we have to do this about it. It was more just like, let's just create something that feels right. And out of that came one of my favorite songs my favorite song on the record, Wasp.
Yeah, I like that one.
He and I worked on all the vocals and lyrics and stuff for the song Death March, which is another one of my favorite songs. So everything that I end up doing with him becomes my favorite because it was the most fun to make and the most free to make. Right. And I owe Tim a lot.
Now, I find it interesting because I know ever since you guys started, you've had the Marilyn Manson tie-ins, like, oh, you know, this is like what they're trying to do. And now with this record, I saw a lot more of it because of like his touch on the album. What's your opinion on stuff like that?
I mean, like, I guess maybe because I'm involved in it and I'm writing it, I don't see it the same way as everyone else does. Like, I just hear, I of course understand and respect the people who say that it's similar and all that stuff. And yeah, it has that sound. Yeah. It has that sound. Like, it's very evident. Right. But it's different in its own way as well. Like, it has its own thing. It's got the Motionless touch on it, and it's not meant to at all be like a copy. It's just more like, you know, there's every band out there right now is either a recreation of a past band. Mm-hmm. Even Manson got tons of hate for Bowie, ripping off Bowie and Alice Cooper and everything like that, and those are the generations before him. Right. So now, you know, every so many years, everything recycles itself, and there's new bands that sound like the other bands, older bands. You know, like, I can point out 10 bands right now that are huge today that sound like big bands from years ago. Right. And that's just how it works. Like, people don't want to understand that, but that's just how it works. So we took the Zombie, Manson, Slipknot, Korn route of all those bands that we were all influenced by, and that's what we use when we write. It's like, well, this is what we're influenced by. This is our favorite bands, our favorite music. Let's create that. That's what we want. And a lot of people just don't see the fact that it's newer and it's got its differences and it has its own uniqueness to it, while still maintaining that vibe of those bands that are, you know, they're still around, but there's not like a newer band coming out like that. So, yeah.
Now, with the newest album I saw, which I thought was interesting, a lot of people were saying that there was a lot of like a Breaking Benjamin kind of influence. Okay. So what do you? Because I mean, I actually after like hearing that and then listening to the record with like the choruses, I could kind of see it. And I know with the producers you guys worked with, kind of went more for that sound. Was that maybe something you were really trying to go for necessarily?
Yeah, I mean, Ben writes the best choruses known to mankind. I think we worked with Dan. Dan's produced all the Breaking Ben records. Right. So, Dan Corneff, I should say, for the people that don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, he's produced all the Breaking Ben records, and those records sound superior to anything else in that genre. Like, they're crystal clear, just everything is perfect. And, yeah, I mean, why would I not be influenced by a thing that I find to be perfect? Right. So, I mean, yeah, it's just another thing where I get it, I understand it, I hear the argument, but once again, it's different and it's its own thing at the same time. So it's not. I just don't even pay attention to that stuff, because no matter what I do, no matter what anybody does now, it's just claimed as a copy or rip off and influenced by or whatever it is, you know. Yeah,
because I mean, the last year or two, I've really seen the whole metalcore scene go really new metal. Yeah, a lot of it, a lot of Linkin Park kind of stuff.
Well, everyone's realizing that the metalcore scene has a ceiling, and you know, there's only so far you can go with it, and there's only so many people you can reach with it. Right. So everyone's kind of turning their head into the radio hallway, where it's well, maybe if we do some more accessible stuff or some more old school style stuff, then people, you know, we'll get a new audience. And it's funny how many bands are doing that. We tried doing that on Infamous. We made that turn to go in that route on Infamous, and now a couple years later, everybody's taking that path, and it's funny to watch. But you know, I get it, because there's only so far you can go playing breakdown and into chorus, breakdown into chorus. You know,
I just found it was so interesting that you could see the whole scene change in such a short period, because you know there was your 08 to maybe 2010 scene where it was, you know, your crabcore, whatever you want to call it, and then, you know, now it's morphed almost into a reincarnation of new metal and radio rock now, which it's almost completely lost. It's they're two different bands almost now, which I think is really interesting, that the whole, not even just a few bands, the whole entire scene did that.
Well, I mean, generally there's just one front-running band. I don't know who it is. I mean, Bring Me didn't go that way. Data Remember didn't go that way. I don't even know who else there is at the top, but there's just somebody that must have done it and saw success, and then everyone else saw that and just went that way, you know? Right. We did America and put that on the radio, and it, you know, did pretty well. So there's that, and then I know Of Mice and Men, and there's so many bands that are taking that direction. Or you know, the new Attila record just came out, and that has an insane new metal Limp Bizkit feel. And I've seen people left and right, this is just ripping off this, and this is ripping off that. What you know? There's not really any riff in the world left to right that hasn't been written. There's no screaming pattern in this world left that hasn't been written. Of course, everything's going to sound like something else. There's no way around it. So, it's just, I enjoy the fact that everyone's kind of coming around in that direction, because that's just the style of music that I like a lot. But it is funny to see how many bands are going to migrate and leave where they came from, and I want to see where the fans are going to end up, because the fans are not progressing as fast as the bands are. I shouldn't say progressing, changing or adjusting to the evolution as fast as the bands are. So you know, we struggle with that. A ton of other bands are struggling with it. So I wonder what's going to happen.
Because now, especially the last year, the tours have been being put together. A lot of them are actually starting to, I was amazed when A Mice and Men started playing arenas this year. On the Linkin Park tour too, which I think is cool, that a lot of them are opening up for you know, the bigger bands that maybe they're kind of influenced by and getting exposed to, you know, Linkin Park fans maybe who don't know of Mice and Men are now getting into that. Do you see maybe him? I think is kind of like that, but do you see doing anything really big in the near future with something like that, kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I think those bands, it's kind of a situation where they need us just as much as we need them. They need new fans. They might be Linkin Park, but at the end of the day, they can always afford more fans. And if Mice and Men fans, I'm sure probably know who Linkin Park are. I'm sure at least 3/4 of them probably have heard One Step Closer, or you know, one of the movies in Transformers or something like that. But that's about it. But now they're going to be exposed potentially to an entire show and become a full-fledged fan, and that's great for Linkin Park. it's more beneficial for Mice and Men, but still it's great for Linkin Park. And with us and him, I'm sure everybody's acquainted with each other. I think more of our fans would know who they are than their fans knowing who we are. So it's more beneficial to us, but we are bringing that extra little bit of crowd into this show that they wouldn't have without another band. Right. So that third quarter of the venue that needs to be filled it's our job, and that's what we're there to do. So I think I just completely forgot the question.
No, you got it. Yeah.
Analyzing the thought behind what you were saying. Sorry.
No, you got it. But going off of that, kind of with the new album, you did a decent amount of features on it. Yes. With some different styles and different vocals for different bands. Is that done maybe to bring in maybe their fans to check you out, or what exactly goes into picking features?
More. I mean, for me, it's more just either it's a friend or it's someone that I absolutely love their body of work. We had Danny Filth from Cradle of Filth sing a song. That's solely because we're all just Cradle of Filth super fanboys and love Danny Filth. I just love what he does and always wanted him to sing on one of our songs. So it's just more of like a super fan reach out, hope that he'll want to do it, and it worked out moment. With Maria Brink from In This Moment, she sings on a song that was just like, well, I want a female duet type of song, so who can I ask? And I was like, well, we have a very close relationship with In This Moment and Maria, so why not ask her? It's a friendship thing. I mean, I obviously love what she does, but it was more of like, rather than reaching out to somebody that I don't know at all, I'd rather include a friend. And that's the same goes for Tim, who sang in the song. And so it's a little bit of both, but it's never in an effort to try to sell more singles of that song. If I wanted to do that, I'd be reaching out for somebody that's a proven single seller and hope that they would sing in the song. But,
Now, when it comes to shows, do you see people looking more for the new stuff, the old stuff?
Depends on the tour. This tour, I don't think anyone's going to really have a preference. When we tour with like Day to Remember and whatnot, I'm sure probably looking for the older stuff just because it fits a little bit more. But it really depends on the tour. That's what I like about our band is that I feel like we're somewhat of like a Chex Mix where we have so many different aspects that allows us to tour with Day to Remember, and then that allows us to tour with Lacuna Coil and him, or then go back on tour with Mice and Men and Warped Tour. Yeah. Like, we can do that because that's what we've molded our band around.
Right. Now, actually, with Warped Tour, because I was looking at, like, a long list, because, like, they've started announcing it for next year, and they had all the bands that have ever played on Warped Tour, and I didn't know that you guys are actually one of the bands that have played Warped Tour the most.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I knew you guys kind of started on Warped Tour. I know you guys played like a few years in a row with I think the Battle of the Bands, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool that kind of is what springboarded you guys. But I didn't realize that you guys played that many times.
Yeah, we've been pushing before anything like really took off, or even before Creatures came out. We were a band for a couple of years, just booking our own tours and doing the van and trailer in hotels, or sleeping in the van in the freezing cold, and actually we're doing that on this tour because we miss that. Like at the end of the day, I'll take a tour bus over anything else, but I do miss that closeness with all my friends in the van. That's what I started off doing, and a lot of the guys in the band now we haven't even had the chance to tour in a van together because a lot of them are newer guys. So yeah, it's just to go back. Warped Tour was more like the first real full-scale tour we did, and then I think we seemed to do it every year until 2012 when. Do we have Infamous was recorded in the studio, and then we left right for Warped Tour and played one song off of that. So we probably played like 5 or 6 years on different smaller stages, and then we upgraded to the Monster stage, and then this year, just this past year, or 2014 was the main stage. So yeah, it's really cool. Like there's been some long, hard nights from Warped Tour in my life, and a lot of miles put on my body from sleeping in that van with a bunch of other dudes. But it's, you know, the memories and everything that you take with you for the rest of your life.
What was it like headlining a tour that kind of kick-started what you guys are now?
It was really weird. I mean, the most surreal moment of the tour was when we played in Indianapolis. We were on Warped Tour years ago, before Creatures came out, when we had our first original full-length. It ended up getting cut down to an EP when we signed with Fearless, but we had just recorded our first ever full-length, and it was called When Love Met Destruction, and we left right for Warped Tour with 1,000 copies of it. And this is like total just, I think there was 6 of us and maybe one other person touring with us. We pushed all of our own equipment from the stands into the grass, into the venue area, and all of our merch, stood at our own tent, all that kind of stuff every day. And then we would have to drive 6 or 7 hours every night. So it was like the most torturous, long days of your life. But when we played Indianapolis, it was the last day that we were on. I think we were on for like 2 weeks. Okay. Like a really small stage, or like the pre-built stages in the middle of nowhere. And the singer Sean from Elisana, they were on that year, came over and watched us. We had sold all 1,000 CDs in like 2 weeks. We were gaining a pretty good buzz. Like there was probably like 500 people watching us every day for a band no one knew.
Right.
We had MySpace at the time, so we were like online. We had a good online presence, but no one really knew us or had ever seen us before.
Right.
Sean had heard about us, came over and watched us, and when we got off stage, he was just like, "I want to manage you guys. I want to try to, get you signed and blah 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 and all that kind of stuff." And then, within a couple months, we had signed to Fearless, and so Indianapolis was the day where we quote unquote were discovered. I guess
that's awesome.
So when we played there on Warped Tour, headlining it, it was a really weird moment for me to just remember back and walking by that same pre-built stage that we had played on, having headlined. It's a very humbling, like, emotional experience.
Right.
So that was I love that day.
Now, I also wanted to talk about, because now it just keeps becoming more and more prevalent in the scene. With you made a statement about how the music scene, more the metalcore scene, stuff like that, was becoming too saturated with the whole push for like the hope and all that kind of stuff to just kind of as a money maker. What do you see in it now? Do you see any change?
I have actually. I feel like I can't take credit for any sort of movement because I'm just one person and a bunch of other people had to have assisted. But when I spoke out about it, the response from everybody else, all of my peers and all the other bands that we know and have toured with, as well as all the publications across the world, Rock Sound, Kerrang, AP, everybody that has any sort of public clout seems to have backed what I said. I didn't see really anybody saying anything negative about it. So I think because of everyone putting that out there, like, hey, we agree with what he's saying, really made fans evaluate how all bands kind of look at how they look at what's being said by the fans. So I have seen a lot less. It's still out there. There's still letters being written that contain people's used razor blades and all that stuff, and it's more like whatever. I don't even care anymore. I got it out of my system. I said what I needed to say. I do see a lot of bands still preaching that word. Warped Tour is a grand example. It seemed like every time I would walk by the Monster stage, that was the only speech I was hearing. Was the don't let anybody tell you that you can't be yourself and all that stuff. And it's like, we stand for that. Yes, that is who our band is. We are all about independence and self-worth and everything that falls under that umbrella. But there's no need for us to preach anymore because there's 45,000 other bands out there saying the same thing, and I refuse to be put into that category. You know, like people know where I stand on it. They know that that's what our band ultimately is about, and that's pretty much as far as it's going to go.
What is, like, how do you feel when you get those people that come up to you and say stuff like, you know, your band saved my life, or you get the letters and stuff like that? How does that, what is your...
At this point, it's literally just, it's like awkward, because what do I say? They're like, oh, you're welcome. Yeah. I'm so happy that I can help, you know. Yeah. I don't know what to say. None of us do. We always kind of just say thank you and look up and, you know, acknowledge it and appreciate it, but
right.
There's nothing to say. I don't. What do you say to that?
Right.
You know, what do you say when you open up a letter and it has a used razor blade? You know, like, you know, what? I don't know. You know, but if it helped, if indeed it really did help the person, then that's great.
Right.
I feel like 90% of the people are just full of it, but if there are that 10% that are getting some sort of inner peace from whatever it is that they're saying or doing or listening to, great, that's fine.
Right. All right, we are going to wrap it up because we have some music to play. Is there anything that you want to add?
I see that Hymns the record over there creeping at me, so let's do...